And welcome back to the Nub, or welcome back to the Nub now. I'm the Merce.
Hey, it's me, Felton the Pumpkin Dancer.
There you go. And we're actually doing a Hanging with Web Show exclusive. So we're partnering up with Hanging with Web Show, and we're going to do some exclusives on their page, and hopefully get people to go from that page to our page to check us out. So this is our first exclusive for their page, and I'm kind of excited about it. What about you?
I'm pretty excited. I actually have a short little short little story about Hangin with Web Show when we get a second.
Okay, well, go ahead and share it now.
All right. So one of the guys who's I'm not quite sure if he's the one that started it, but is Garrett?
Yes.
Yeah,
he's the guy. He's the head guy in charge and started, I believe.
Okay. There was one of the local conventions around here. It may have been Coscography. He had a panel. I believe it was last year. And I went to it because I was really interested in what he had to say. He was talking about some topics like growing your YouTube channel and whatnot. So I thought, okay, cool. Let's see what he has to say. And I got to tell you, I was kind of blown away by his insights and some of the things that he brought up that I never would have thought of. As far as how to grow a channel organically, looking at your analytics. Making sure that you're literally going after it one subscriber at a time. And that's what he said, go after it one subscriber at a time. And that really stuck with me. And to me, that just, that's so much more meaningful than just kind of having a tidbit go viral and then have a bunch of people laugh, ha 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 ha, and then never look at any of your other content ever again,
Yeah.
And I think that's how channels like his and other YouTube channels and podcasts have stayed around and been so successful, is taking that advice, growing it one subscriber at a time, and just being authentic. That's I think an important part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm very excited to be partnering up with them. I'm hoping that it's going to be a good relationship for both sides. And for us, obviously, it's going to give us more exposure. I just hope that they don't regret putting us on their channel.
Well, hopefully they've seen a couple of the episodes and know what to
expect.
For. Yeah, dog interruptions, parkour accidents, me getting comically hit on the head by falling objects during production. It's all
a lot of poop stories.
A lot
of poop stories.
Way too many.
Just way too many. All right, let's veer away from the poop stories now, and let's talk about some stuff going on in the media, actually. Well, not media, but in the entertainment world, as it were. So Netflix, as usual, they dropped a show that I didn't know was coming, and it kind of blew me away, called Daybreak. Have you had a chance to see any of this yet?
I'm just now hearing about it.
Okay, so Daybreak, basically what it is, it's like a combination of the show Skins, plus Degrassi, plus The Walking Dead. Okay, so the premise is that there is some kind of a missile strike that happens and thrusts the world into a post-apocalyptic kind of situation where all the adults have become like zombies, and all the teenagers and kids are left to kind of fend for themselves. And it's just such a over-the-top, ridiculous, funny, but yet still fun and sometimes even moving show. Again, kind of like the show Skins or the show Degrassi, or and then a little bit of the bleakness from The Walking Dead, but not really that bad. So Matthew Broderick stars in this as he's the principal, so he's one of the adults that are in this, but he wasn't affected by the bomb, and you get to meet him and see what goes on with him. But man, it's so funny to see the guy from Ferris Bueller's Day Off as now an authority figure. And they even kind of do a little play on Bueller's Day Off, or Ferris Bueller's Day Off, if you watch in the very when they're doing roll call. So it's pretty funny. I like how they don't shy away from their cheesiness or from their puns, their jokiness. One other person that kind of stands out in this show for me is a woman named Krista Rodriguez. She plays a character called Miss Crumble, one of the teachers. and just her story arc in general is fantastic. But like she's got a very emotional story arc, and it's just very captivating me. So I will say the first episode for me was a little rough, and I don't know why I continued on to the next episode, but after that I was hooked. I just kept watching. So definitely worth a look. Especially if you haven't seen it yet, there, Felton.
Okay, well, I now that you're talking about it, my SO, my significant other, I believe already binged the entire thing, and told me that I needed to watch it. So she gave me a little bit of an insight on it. So now I feel like I'm obligated to.
Now you have to.
Yeah.
You have no choice in that.
So speaking of Netflix, I believe we've both gotten into a new prank show that they started just out of nowhere. I don't know who came up with this idea, but they need to be crowned the king of Netflix, because I'll tell you, I absolutely love it. I've seen the first 2 or 3 episodes. It's I have not laughed so hard continuously through a television show, and I couldn't tell you how long. Like maybe when Impractical Jokers first came out, I found it quite funny. But this was just, oh man, it was so hilarious.
Well, especially the things that they do in it. It reminds me a lot of the, what was it Scare Tactics or something like that, where a lot of the scares are kind of like alien based or supernatural or things like that, right? But what's the name of the show again?
It is called Prank Encounters. And it has
starring
Gaten Matarazzo, the Dustin from Stranger Things.
Exactly.
So I feel like there's something that needs to be said about this show. This is a prank show where, okay, scare tactics, okay, is kind of like your knockoff comedy, heist movie, right? To this show, which is like your Ocean's 11 level heists. Like, it is just absolutely mind-boggling how amazing they set up these pranks. I mean, I just can't describe it. They go into a pretty amazing amount of detail with how they set these people up and get them to suspend their level of disbelief. And I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but I suppose a spoiler-free, kind of a summary of it is they're going after temp workers, right? So they hire various temp workers to come in, and they have a troupe of actors and situations and locations already set up to bring these people into. And just through the mere power of suggestion, while they are on the way to these areas, they're just planting little seeds of, strange facts and things and statements, to where when they get there, these completely rational adults are willing to believe that they're, seeing ghosts and Bigfoot and all manner of things that these situations that they're setting up. I mean, I don't want to talk about it too, make it too conflated, but it's absolutely amazing to me.
I do have to say there were a couple of them though that were just way too ready to accept what was going on.
They were just, I knew it, I knew this, I knew Bigfoot was real, I knew Bigfoot, I knew teddy bears were, I knew it, I knew teddy bears.
It is a really good show, and I don't know, man. That kid that plays Dustin from Stranger Things, he is just one of those people that he's like a young Neil Patrick Harris to me, where it's like I could watch him in just about anything because he's damn entertaining.
Oh yeah,
I could see him someday having his like own variety show of some sort or a talk show. He's so inviting, and when you see him, you just want to watch what he's doing and just be like, oh, this is great. I've seen him a couple times now at panels, and just he's so intriguing to even listen to for such a little guy. He's so damn entertaining. So Good for him, man. I'm glad they gave him his own show. That's awesome.
I don't even know. I don't
Now,
know if he's actually like directing the prank or directing the show as it's going on. Because they present it as if he's calling all the shots. But if he
I doubt
actually
it.
is, I just think that would be fantastic. I mean, if it's not him and he's just there as like the face of it, whatever.
Hmm.
It's not going to take away from anything for me because it's
Yeah.
it's still entertaining. But yeah.
Yeah, they do present it like he's the one in charge, but I mean, come on, like I doubt that he's the one in charge. In charge, you know? It's just I don't really think that the Ashton Kutcher show punked. I don't think Ashton Kutcher was really like 100% as involved as they made it seem. So,
Yeah.
but anyways, yeah, it's definitely worth watching, man. I love that show. So me and Foxtail got out to the movies this Halloween holiday. We got to see Zombieland Double Tap. Have you seen that yet?
Yes.
Okay. In my opinion, I felt like it was kind of slow to start, but it definitely grew on me and became, I wouldn't say as good as the first one, but I definitely would watch it again. I'd watch them back to back. It definitely was not like a snooze fest or a complete departure from the original. But what were your thoughts on that?
I think for me, again, I kind of agree. I think it started off a little bit slow, but I think what really picked it up for me and I thought was hilarious was the references to modern day culture that they were
Hmm.
making, and in a really genuinely funny way. Because obviously we know this is the apocalypse, so it
Hmm.
happened before Uber. It happened before Uber Eats, and these food,
Hmm.
the advent of food and grocery delivery. So the jokes that they made about current events were even funnier, I feel like.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I feel like with these kinds of shows, with the post or movies and things like that, with if you do either a sequel, especially a sequel a ways off from the first one, or do a show like The Walking Dead where it's been going on for a long time, sometimes they forget when it started, and they'll make a reference that is not current with where everybody would have been left off when the apocalypse happened. So I do like that they were very conscious of that fact. I also like, and this isn't really a spoiler because I think it was in the previews if I'm not mistaken, but I like the fact that somehow, some way, it got around that one of the characters had killed Bill Murray accidentally in the first movie. And so now, if you screw up sometime in the apocalypse or you do something, stupid, it's called pulling a Murray, which I think is fantastic. You know?
Oh, if you
So,
kill a human thinking that they're a zombie, then you
hmm.
pulled a Murray.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. I also like, I mean, they poked so much fun at the first movie and themselves. It was just great. I don't want to give much away 'cause a lot of people haven't seen it yet, but man, they did a really good job. The only thing that was lacking for me, and again, I don't feel like this is a spoiler per se, but the Twinkies thing has died down. He wasn't going after Twinkies or freaked out about Twinkies as much. So that I don't know if maybe they didn't get the rights this time to talk about Twinkies or what, but it's like, what about the
Maybe
Twinkies?
maybe it was just one of those things where he got to the Twinkies and then that was it. There was no need to fulfill that desire anymore.
It could be. It could
Maybe that
be.
was more of a deeper psychological statement.
I did like that there was a lot more growth in this one than the first one, especially with the little girl who I cannot remember because they're all names of like cities.
Chloe, no. 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 I was almost said Chloe Savillon.
No, I don't believe that's her name, but her character had a lot bigger growth in this movie, so that was really cool.
Hmm.
Um, it was very enjoyable. I had a good time. I was not at
Abigail
all disappointed.
Breslin.
Yeah, of course.
Breslin?
That was just gonna roll
I,
right
I
off my
I knew
tongue.
you were just gonna say it.
I was almost there. Now, I know that you normally do the video game news for us or the video game stuff, but this time I just want to throw something out there and then go to your video game news, okay?
Hmm.
Are you okay with that?
I
Can you
well,
live with that?
this is not video game news per se, but it's video game
Okay.
related. So
Okay. So you'll allow it?
yes.
Okay. The Final Fantasy VII remake is coming, and I am so excited. I am so excited, especially because, all right, so I'm not gonna lie, I was a little put off that they were going to revamp the whole battle system for this remake of Final Fantasy VII. They're revamping a lot of things, but they're doing a whole different, like a JRPG kind of style where you're running around and casting spells and attacking instead of, kind of like a Final Fantasy 15 and things like that.
Was that
Whereas,
the bro trip one?
yes, yeah. Um, as opposed to basically the original Final Fantasy VII, where you had the characters in a line and you took turns attacking and that kind of stuff, right? But from what I understand, they're also including a classic difficulty setting, which will allow for that style where you can take your time, decide what spell you're going to use, set up great combos and that kind of stuff. So I'm excited that you can play it both ways. That looks interesting. They also have a new character from Soldier in it that they're introducing as a playable character, so that's kind of cool. You get an extra new character. Let's see. They're bringing back the squat minigame. I don't know if you remember that, but there was like squat. There was the squatting minigame.
It's like squat, like sitting down, like what?
No, like doing squats, where you go from a standing position, you bend the knees, till your butt
I
almost
don't
touches
remember
your
that at
ankles,
all.
and get back up.
I don't
Oh
remember that at
yeah,
all.
oh yeah. It's when you get to the town where Cloud needs to cross dress to save
Wait a
one of the
minute.
characters. The guy kept. Do you remember that part at least?
No, I don't.
Oh man, yeah. You have to win the squats competition so you can get a wig for your cross dressing outfit to go rescue Eris
I
from an
mean,
evil count who has captured her.
I mean, probably that sounds absurd enough that it would happen. Sure.
I think I just played this game way too much because I remember
I
all
think
these
I
things.
played through it like once, and then after Snape kills Dumbledore, I was like, "Well, this is I'm just put off." Like that was it.
Snape kills Dumbledore.
Wait a minute, no. After Sephiroth kills Aerith.
Spoilers.
Oh, come on! It's been out 20 years. Stop it.
So I'm extremely excited to bring back the
can we
squats
deconstruct
minigame.
this for a second? Like, I want to take a small tangent, okay? Every other time in the game, somebody has a friggin' meteor land on their head, and they get knocked out of the fight and they're dead. And then you just walk up to them and go, "Oh, I'm gonna use the Phoenix down. Oh, cast Resurrect." And then they're back up in the fight. They had the meteor land on their head. Bahamut, appeared from the ether and bit them in half. And look at that! Use the Phoenix down, and they've come back to life. And then Sephiroth comes along with his long, spindly spaghetti sword and stabs her in the gut. And all of a sudden, like, oh well, I guess it didn't happen in combat, so you can't use a heal on her or a revive or go sleep in a hotel and have her come back to life. I mean, I just that part of the story, and I know there was the whole conspiracy of, oh, you were supposed to be able to bring her back to life. Ooh. Apparently that wasn't real. You were never supposed to be able to bring her back to life. That was supposed to be a devastating character loss, right? But
Yeah, it is.
I don't know, when you kill off a character like that and you have a way to resurrect characters in the game, I just feel like you're going to bother people like me who are, like, well, wait a minute. I've suspended my disbelief here up until this point. Like, you let me use a Phoenix Down on her. What the heck?
Well, and on that same token, can we also talk about how if you had anything equipped on her when she died, you lost all that stuff? So those of us who played the game without cheating and using a strategy guide the first time lost a lot of really cool stuff
Oh,
when
and
she
that's
died.
another reason why I only played it once, was because I hadn't saved it in a good minute, and that cutscene
Yep.
wasn't exactly short. So
hmm
when she died and I lost some of that equipment, I got super PO'd. And I didn't play it for probably a good solid week after that. Matter of fact, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks. I finally came back to it.
Well, and the worst part is that later on, you've been taught this lesson once already, right? To make
Yeah.
sure you save properly, you save regularly, you save properly, so that if something happens to one of your characters, you don't lose everything, right? And of course, you forget that lesson as the game goes on because it's 60 plus hours just for the normal story mode for that game, right? So when Cat Sith dies, and then they just bring him back like a minute later, you lose everything that he had too, and they bring him back with nothing. And of course, it's supposed to be another Cat Sith, or whatever the case may be is. But God dang it, I want to throw my controller through the monitor. It's like I already learned this lesson. Why am I forgetting it?
This is stupid. Well, plus the game had the series rather has a history of kind of giving you the option to, do different things and follow different paths. Like for example, in Final Fantasy 3, I think it was 5 in Japan, but 3 over here. There was a part where the world is coming to the apocalypse, and
You're talking about the mechs, right?
yes,
The one with the mech. Yeah.
Magitech armor. You
Yes.
can save Shadow if you just wait on the Kefka's floating island or whatever it is. If you just wait, Shadow eventually, epically comes out last minute and jumps on the airship and you guys escape, right? And that was kind of a thing where a lot of people for a long time, their first playthroughs had no idea. And people started getting the strategy guides and figuring out, like, oh, man, you could save Shadow. I dropped everything. I quit school. I told my parents that I loved them, and I went up to my room with, probably a few weeks' worth of rations and a commode, and I played through Final Fantasy 3 again when I found out that you could save Shadow because, man, that was another devastating loss that was just terrible. He was a great character. There was no need for him to die.
While we're on the subject, can we discuss the fact that there used to be a time where you actually did not need strategy guides to play these RPGs? Like typically, the characters in the RPG would kind of let you know what was going on, or it was something that you could discover, from your friends and things like that. That wasn't like that huge a deal. Like you didn't have to like stand in this one specific spot and do this one specific thing before this would happen.
Devs are big a-holes sometimes with some of these things. I mean, they.
But what I'm saying is to play the game through to at least completion to the point where you felt satisfied. Maybe you didn't have to get everything, but at least to where you felt satisfied, you would be able to do the majority of the game without having to look at a single strategy guide, because if there was an extra mission, you just had to pay attention to what the NPCs and stuff the NPCs were saying, right? They would talk about, oh yeah, if you go to this land, there's a certain monster that appears, and he's really difficult to beat, and you're thinking, oh, okay, this is obviously like some kind of side quest thing, and if I do it, I'll probably get something really cool for doing it. But in the more modern Final Fantasies, as they developed, and I'm saying this because I played through Final Fantasy X again, right? And there's a lot of things that I missed because I did not do the strategy guide, and there was no NPCs that like directed me towards doing these side missions. That it's like, oh, if you type in this specific location that you can't find any other way than to have the strategy guide, then you can go here and get this and yada yada yada. So I feel gypped that I now kind of have to go back to play the game again if I want to get not everything complete, but at least better weapons and better summons and things like that.
Well, that's kind of why I feel like strategy guides were DLC before DLC was DLC.
Yeah, and it just kind of sucks that you had to do that. Like I remember picking up, and especially with the Final Fantasy series, you pick up a new Final Fantasy game, you kind of had to get the strategy guide, whether you really wanted to or not, because if not, then you were going to miss out on a lot of really cool extra content. Because you're right, it was like they had DLC kind of hidden in the game itself that you really couldn't unlock without having the strategy guide to tell you how to do so. It's not like you would just stumble upon a lot of these things. Some of it was like very specific, like you had to go do this very specific thing in this very specific order that there was no detail at all in the game about doing, and then you had to do it. That's what I liked about the Elder Scroll games. There's a lot of extra side quests and stuff to do in that game, correct? But at the same time, there's always some kind of NPC that'll tell you to go do those things. I cannot remember anything in the games, and I could be wrong, but I can't remember anything in the games that was some kind of secret that you couldn't find the information somewhere, whether it was in a book, an NPC, some writing on a wall, whatever the case may be. Is there was always a way to find that next cool mission. And yeah, of course, it would be difficult to find all those missions on your own without maybe looking at some kind of strategy guide. But it was cool that if I did a little more investigation and I talked to more people and I paid more attention to what was going on, that would lead me to the next really cool thing. I like that. And then on top of it, once you talk to that person or you found that thing or whatever, or you read that book, that little quest thing came up in your quest check to-do list, and then you could click on that when you were ready, when it was time to go do that. So I just thought that was really cool.
Now,
And I didn't feel like I needed a strategy after those games.
I recently found out that Skyrim actually had like a main storyline, and you weren't meant to spend the entire game trying to collect cheese wheels from every single building and every single town and every single campsite.
I call BS. BS. That's not true.
I don't
That's
think
not true
I
at all.
ever found the first quest line. I just went immediately to putting buckets on people's heads and stealing things and just
I honestly
looted the
I
entire
thought
game.
I thought Skyrim, the name Skyrim, actually translated to steal a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I thought
You know, like, you just
that's literally what the
consistently-
game was about.
Like I was bad about it. I would, when you steal in that game to the point where you walk extremely slowly,
Yeah,
almost to the point where you can't walk at all.
yeah,
That was me all the time.
yeah.
I would constantly
gotta get back to
I
the
kept
house.
I kept a horse nearby. And I would save up enough money to buy a house in every little town that I could, and I would ride my horse to the closest town, unload everything, and if there's still more to go back, I would go back and I don't know why. I just loved clearing out entire
Oh man,
cities
it's
or
bad.
dungeons or wherever the case, like forks and everything, like just stuff that you couldn't sell or use for anything at all. I would go and steal it. I
Yeah.
don't know why.
Well, and I had this weird thing. I loved shouting at Yetis and knocking them off the mountain. Yeah, I would just do that for
I never
hours.
did that.
Yeah, I would just
I
shout
never
at
did
Yetis.
that.
That was great. Just, oh man.
Did it kill them?
No, they would just fall off,
Oh.
and then they'd climb back up. I mean, it depended on how far they fell. But that was just really shouting at giant, just really shouting at anything. And just knocking them off the mountain. I mean, that pretty much was where I ended the game. Like, I'm like, well, I don't really know what else there is. I've stolen everything. I had my wife carry everything for me. And I mean, what else was there? I was the cheese czar of Skyrim. There really wasn't anything else to do.
I loved it. I've always been that way with those kind of games for some strange reason. Like as soon as I found out I could take something, I did. It didn't matter what it was.
Well, that's a good segue here for the Witcher series.
Yes.
That was another great game where my compulsion to collect spent, oh my god, man, I don't even know how many hundreds of hours I spent between the three games. But they dropped, finally, we have an official trailer on Netflix for the new Witcher film, Netflix series starring Superman.
Yes,
So-
and I posted the YouTube trailer for that on the Nub yesterday, I believe. Actually, I believe Foxtail posted it. So go check
Thank
that
you
out if
for
you haven't
that,
seen it
by
yet.
the way. Because
Yes,
that's
very
the only reason
excited about
I found
that.
about it.
Very, very excited about it. Well, that's the whole point of the Nub, is that we try to keep people in the loop of what's going on nerd-wise in the community and beyond. So, keep up with us on Facebook. We're also on Instagram, though we're not as active there. And we've got our podcast. And now, like I said, we're doing this one as a exclusive for Hanging with Web Show. So keep up with us. Let's have a good time. Like, subscribe, share with your friends. Yeah, let's hang out. Like, tell us in the comments what you think. All that good stuff. So, what time? Where are we at time wise now?
29. And did you have,
Okay.
you have one more thing you wanted to bring up?
Did I? Do you remember what that one more thing was? Because
I don't know.
might
I
have
cut you
forgotten.
off to tie in The Witcher because I just had to be the one to break the news because this is what I've been waiting for.
It's your life.
Yeah.
No, I think that's pretty much it. So I'm pretty good there. And I think we can close this one out right now. So I'm going to roll the D20 this time. And for those who have not listened to our podcast before, at the end of it, we like to roll the D20 of Destiny. And if it lands on a 20, the person who is rolling the D20 gets to pick who's going to tell an embarrassing story. Well, it doesn't have to be necessarily embarrassing, but we prefer to be embarrassing or funny at least. And then if it's a 1, then the person rolling the dice has to themselves tell a embarrassing story. Sometimes we have a third person named Triple B on the show, who actually majority of the time we have a third person named Triple B on the show, who then offsets things so that one person will actually roll a die and add their result to the die roll to then make it go, above or below 20 or 1. So that being said, it's my turn to roll the d20. I'm gonna roll it now and get a 3, so nothing will happen this episode. No stories.
Sometimes he's quadruple B, I've noticed.
Yes, exactly. When we talk about it being Nerds United in Brevard and beyond, so he is quadruple B at that point in time.
Beautiful bald bearded bard.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
we should definitely pitch that to him. See what he says.
I'm gonna put that in my episode notes.
There you go. Yeah, that'd be fantastic. All right, so we'll go ahead and close this one out. My name is the Merce.
It's Felton.
And you've been listening to the Nub podcast as an exclusive on Hangin with Web Show. Talk to you guys later.